Listen to me carefully, my dear brother, my dear sister. I know you have recited it before, many times, perhaps dozens of times, perhaps hundreds. You know the words, you know the rhythm, you know the reward. But let me ask you a quiet question, the kind that settles in the chest when the noise of the day finally stops. When was the last time those words actually changed you? When was the last time you felt a shift in your breathing, a softening in your anxiety, a sudden clarity in your confusion, as if a heavy fog had lifted from your mind, and you could finally see the truth again? If your honest answer is, I am not sure, you are not alone, you are not failing, you are not spiritually deficient. You are simply living in a generation that has turned recitation into repetition, and repetition into routine. We have learned to count verses, but we have forgotten to carry their weight. We have memorized the sounds, but we have missed the substance. And in that gap between knowing the words and experiencing their power is where most Muslims never encounter the miracle that Surah Ikhlas actually holds. This is not about adding another practice to your already full schedule. This is not about guilt. This is not about telling you that you are doing it wrong. This is about awakening to what has been in your hands, on your tongue, and in your heart all along. Surah Ikhlas is not just a short chapter. It is not just a bedtime recitation. It is not just a transaction for reward. It is a spiritual anchor, a psychological reset, a declaration that rewires how you see yourself, the world, and your Creator. And when you understand it, when you recite it with presence, when you let its meaning sink into your nervous system instead of just passing through your lips, everything changes. Stay with me until the end, because today we are not going to just recite words, we are going to uncover the secret power that lies within them. We are going to talk about why most Muslims recite it daily but never experience its miracle. And we are going to learn how to shift from mechanical repetition to living alignment, so that these 4 verses become your daily refuge, your mental clarity, your anchor in the storm. Let us walk through this together with honesty, with compassion, and with the gentle authority of divine wisdom. Before we can experience a miracle, we must understand what we are actually holding in our hands. Surah Ikhlas is only 4 verses long, but within those verses is the entire foundation of Islamic belief. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that it equals 1/3 of the Quran, not because it is long, not because it contains legal rulings or historical narratives, but because the Quran rests on 3 pillars: belief in the Creator, belief in the Messenger, and belief in the unseen return. Surah Ikhlas covers the first pillar in its purest, most concentrated form. And when you strip away all the theology, all the academic debates, all the scholarly terminology, what remains is profoundly simple, a direct invitation to know who Allah is, and in knowing Him, to finally know who you are. Let us look at it in plain English, so you can feel its structure, its rhythm, its weight. First verse say, He is Allah, the One, not a committee, not a hierarchy, not a distant force that needs mediators. One, singular, undivided. When the heart truly absorbs this, it stops splitting its loyalty. It stops trying to serve Allah and serve people's approval at the same time. It stops dividing its attention between divine trust and human validation. It learns that peace does not come from balancing multiple masters. It comes from anchoring to one. Second verse, Allah, the Eternal Refuge, the one who is self-sufficient while everything else depends on Him, the one who does not need your worship, but your worship needs Him. When you internalize this, your desperation softens, your anxiety about outcomes loosens, your need to control people, circumstances, and timelines begins to fade. Why? Because you are no longer carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You are leaning against the one who holds it all. Third verse, He neither begets, nor was He begotten. This is not just a theological statement. It is a psychological liberation. It means Allah is not born from anything, and nothing is born from Him in a way that shares His essence. He is beyond comparison, beyond lineage, beyond human categories of origin and inheritance. And when your mind stops trying to fit the Creator into human frameworks, it stops comparing Him to creation. It stops expecting Him to act like people act, to forgive like people forgive, to love like people love. You begin to trust His wisdom even when it looks like delay. You begin to rest in His timing, even when it feels like silence. Fourth verse, and there is nothing comparable to Him, not your past, not your failures, not your successes, not your wealth, not your poverty, not tebedichin, your health, not your illness, nothing. When you truly absorb this, comparison loses its grip. You stop measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel. You stop believing that your worth is tied to visibility, to applause, to productivity. You realize that if nothing in creation can be compared to Allah, then nothing in creation can define your value. Your value is determined by the one who made you, not by the ones who judge you. This is the weight of 4 simple verses. Not academic, not distant, deeply practical, deeply psychological, deeply spiritual. And this is why the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, called it a foundation. Because when the foundation is solid, the house does not collapse in the storm. It bends, it adjusts, it holds, and the people inside it breathe. If these verses are so powerful, so foundational, so life-shifting, why do millions recite them daily and still feel heavy, still feel anxious, still feel spiritually dry? The answer is not that the words lack power. The answer is that we are reciting them without presence. We are treating a mirror like a checklist. We are speaking to the sky without letting the meaning land in the chest. Let us be honest about the barriers. The first barrier is mechanical recitation. You recite while driving, you recite while scrolling, you recite while your mind is already planning tomorrow's meeting, replaying yesterday's argument, or worrying about next month's bill. The tongue moves, the heart is elsewhere. And when the heart is absent, the words become sound without substance. They pass through you, but they do not settle in you. The second barrier is misunderstanding the purpose. Many Muslims treat Surah Ikhlas as a spiritual vending machine. Recite 10 times, get reward. Recite 100 times, get protection. Recite 1,000 times, get blessings. But the Quran is not a transaction, it is a transformation. Allah does not measure your devotion by speed. He measures it by sincerity. He Tanabant measures it by attention. He measures it by the quiet moments when you actually pause, breathe, and let the meaning wash over your restless mind. The third barrier is modern distraction. We live in an economy of broken attention. Notifications pull us. Algorithms keep us. Notifications pull us again. Our brains are trained for speed, not stillness. For consumption, not reflection. For scrolling, not settling. And in that environment, deep recitation feels difficult. It feels slow. It feels unfamiliar. So we rush through it to get it done. But rushing through a mirror does not clean your face. It just passes over it. The fourth barrier is emotional resistance. Sometimes when we finally slow down, the weight we have been carrying rises to the surface. Old grief, unresolved anger, quiet disappointment, fear of failure, fear of loss. And instead of staying with it, instead of letting the recitation be a safe space to process it, we pull away. We go back to distraction. We tell ourselves, we will focus next time, but next time never comes. if we keep avoiding the present moment. The miracle of Surah Ikhlas is not in the count. It is in the connection. It is not in how many times you say it. It is in how deeply you let it mean something to you. When you recite it with presence, you are not just speaking words. You are resetting your nervous system. You are realigning your priorities. You are declaring that your peace belongs to Allah, not to circumstances, not to people's opinions, not to your own need for control. And that declaration, when spoken with sincerity, changes you, not magically, not instantly, but steadily, consistently, deeply. Now, let us speak about the secret power, not a hidden code, not a mystical formula, but a psychological and spiritual truth that has anchored believers for centuries. Tawhid, the absolute oneness of Allah, is the fastest way to silence anxiety, dissolve comparison, and break the cycle of people pleasing. Think about what causes most of our mental exhaustion. It is rarely one big tragedy. It is 1,000 small fractures. Worrying about what someone might think, comparing your progress to someone else's timeline, trying to control outcomes that were never yours to manage, carrying guilt for mistakes that have already passed, fearing loss so deeply that you cannot enjoy what you have. And beneath all of it is one root, a divided heart, a heart that wants to trust Allah, but still leans on creation. A heart that wants peace, but keeps outsourcing it to temporary things. Surah Ikhlas fixes the division. It does not fix your circumstances. It fixes your center. When you truly absorb, He is Allah, the One. You stop splitting your loyalty. You stop trying to serve Allah and serve human approval at the same time. You stop measuring your worth by visibility, by applause, by productivity. You begin to understand that peace does not come from having everything figured out. It comes from knowing who holds everything. Together, when you absorb Allah, the Eternal Refuge, your desperation softens. You stop begging the world to give you what only Allah can provide. You stop forcing doors open. You stop clinging to people who were never meant to stay. You start trusting that provision does not come from your hustle alone. It comes from your alignment with the One who opens and closes. When you absorb, He neither begets, nor was He begotten. You stop projecting human limitations onto divine wisdom. You stop expecting Allah to act like people act. You stop getting angry when His timing does not match your urgency. You begin to rest in the truth that His knowledge is complete, His plan is precise, and His mercy is wider than your mistakes. When you absorb, there is nothing comparable to Him. Comparison loses its power. You stop measuring your chapter 2 against someone else's chapter 20. You stop believing that your value is tied to your bank account, your title, your visibility, your relationship, status. You realize that if nothing in creation can be compared to Allah, then nothing in creation has the right to define your worth. Your worth is established by your Creator, not by your critics. This is the secret power, not magic, not superstition. Spiritual realignment. Tawhid is a daily anchor, a declaration that rewires how you see yourself, how you handle stress, how you navigate relationships, how you face uncertainty. And when you let it sink in, you will notice the shift, not all at once, but steadily. Your breath will deepen, your mind will quiet, your reactions will soften, your peace will return. Not because life got easier, because your center got stronger. Section 4, prophetic blueprints minus living the meaning, not just reciting the words. If you want to see how this works in real life, look at how the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his companions lived it. They did not treat Surah Ikhlas as a ritual checkbox. They treated it as a spiritual posture. They used it in moments of fear, in moments of decision, in moments of grief, in moments of triumph. Not to escape reality, but to face it with clarity. Consider the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, during the years of persecution in Mecca. He was boycotted. He was mocked. He was chased through the streets. He watched his companions suffer. He carried the weight of a message that most of his own people rejected. Yet his peace was never dependent on public approval. It was anchored in Tawhid. He recited the oneness of Allah, not to escape his pain, but to face it with dignity. He did not compromise his message to win favor. He did not dilute his truth to avoid friction. He stayed grounded. And when the tide turned, when the very city that drove him out embraced his message, it was not because he chased validation. It was because he never lost his center. Look at the companions who faced poverty, exile, and loss. They did not recite Surah Ikhlas to make hardship disappear. They recited it to keep their hearts from breaking under it. They understood that peace is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of alignment. When your heart is aligned with the One, struggle becomes training, not punishment. Delay becomes preparation, not rejection. Silence becomes space, not abandonment. Look at how they handled success. When victory came, they did not become arrogant. They did not credit their own strength. They returned to the same foundation. He is Allah, the One, the Eternal Refuge. Nothing comparable to Him. Success did not inflate their egos. It deepened their gratitude, because they knew that elevation without grounding leads to collapse. And grounding comes from remembering who holds the ladder, not just climbing it. These are not historical anecdotes. They are psychological and spiritual blueprints. They teach us that dignity does not come from winning arguments. It comes from maintaining character. That peace does not come from controlling outcomes. It comes from trusting the One who governs them. That strength does not come from loud declarations. It comes from quiet consistency. And consistency is born from presence, not pressure. You do not need to live in the 7th century to live this truth. You only need to slow down enough to let the meaning land. You only need to stop rushing through the words long enough to let them work on you. You only need to stop treating recitation as a task and start treating it as a conversation, a daily realignment, a spiritual reset, a declaration that your peace belongs to Allah. And you are learning slowly to trust that truth. Understanding the wisdom is essential, but wisdom must become action. Here are 5 clear daily steps you can take starting today to shift from mechanical repetition to living alignment, so that Surah Ikhlas becomes your daily anchor, not just your daily routine. Step 1, understand before you recite. Do not just speak the words, read the translation slowly. Let each phrase sink in. Ask yourself, what does one mean for my current struggles? What does eternal refuge mean for my current anxiety? What does nothing comparable to Him mean for my current comparison? Understanding is not academic. It is practical. It is the bridge between sound and substance. Step 2, recite with breath and presence. Do not rush. Inhale slowly, exhale fully. Recite 1 verse. Pause. Feel it. Inhale, exhale, recite the next. This is not meditation for emptiness. This is remembrance for presence. Your nervous system slows. Your mind stops racing. Your heart stops splitting its attention. You begin to absorb what you are saying instead of just producing it. Step 3, apply it to modern triggers. When comparison rises, pause, whisper the 4th verse. Let it dismantle the lie that your worth is tied to visibility. When anxiety spikes, pause, whisper the 2nd verse. Let it remind you that you are not carrying the weight of the world. When people pleasing pulls you, pause, whisper the 1st verse. Let it anchor your loyalty to the One not the many. Do not wait for perfect condition. Apply it in real time. Step 4. Make it a daily anchor, not a prayer filler. Do not just recite it at the end of your prayer and move on. Make it a standalone moment of realignment before you start work, before you enter your home, before you sleep, before you open your phone. Let it be your spiritual pause button. Let it be the bridge between chaos and calm. Let it be the rhythm that grounds your day. Step 5. Live its meaning in action. Recitation without application is like watering a plant with an empty cup. Live the sincerity. Speak with honesty. Act with integrity. Forgive quickly. Let go of control. Trust the process. When your actions match your recitation, the miracle stops being theoretical. It becomes visible. In your peace, in your relationships, in your clarity, in your resilience. Do not overcomplicate it. Practice these steps daily. Let them become your reflex, and watch how the words stop being sounds and start being shelter. Let us pause and address the heart of the matter. Surah Ikhlas is not a performance. It is not a competition. It is not a spiritual point system. It is a compass. It points you back to your center. It reminds you that peace does not come from controlling everything. It comes from aligning with the one who holds everything. Modern culture teaches us that strength looks like visibility, validation, control, constant movement. But Islam teaches us that strength looks like sincerity, stillness, trust, conscious surrender. When you shift from recitation as routine to recitation as realignment, everything changes. You stop counting repetitions. You start cultivating connection. You stop rushing through the words. You start resting in their meaning. You stop treating Allah as a distant observer. You start trusting Him as your immediate refuge. This is not naive. This is mature. This is not passive. This is empowered. Because true peace does not come from fixing the storm. It comes from anchoring in the one who commands it. And Surah Ikhlas is that anchor, not because it is long, because it is true, not because it is complex, because it is clear, not because it demands perfection, because it invites presence. When you recite it with sincerity, you are not performing a ritual. You are practicing trust. You are training your heart to seek refuge before seeking solutions. You are teaching your nervous system that peace is not found in visibility. It is found in connection to Allah. You are declaring that your home, your heart, your mind, your future are not left to chance. They are held by the one, the eternal refuge, the incomparable. And when you live that truth, you will notice it. The air will lighten, the words will soften, the anxiety will lose its grip, the comparison will fade. The need for control will dissolve, the whispers will retreat. Not because they are gone, but because they no longer have permission to stay. My dear brothers and sisters, you already have the words, you already know the rhythm, you already recite the verses. But today, I am asking you to do something different. Not more, deeper, slower, more present, more sincere. Let Surah Ikhlas stop being a routine and stop being a refuge. Let it stop being a recitation and start being a realignment. Let it stop being something you do and start being something you live. Do not wait for the heaviness to become unbearable before you seek presence. Do not wait for the anxiety to paralyze you before you anchor in truth. Do not wait for the comparison to drain your joy before you remember who defines your worth. Recite it slowly. Recite it sincerely. Recite it with presence. Let it be the first words whispered in your heart when the day begins. Let it be the last words settled in your chest before you sleep. Let it be the rhythm that guards your peace, shields your heart, softens your mind, and returns your life to you. I pray to Allah, the most merciful, the most wise, the guide of hearts, to make these 4 verses a daily anchor in your life, to replace your mechanical repetition with conscious presence, to silence the anxiety that drains you, to dissolve the comparison that distracts you, to ground your heart in unwavering trust, to make your recitation not just words on your tongue, but refuge in your chest, rhythm in your days, and peace in your soul. If this reminder touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to experience this miracle today. Subscribe to Light Upon Light Islamic reminders for more content that strengthens your faith, calms your heart, and guides your steps. And remember, you are never alone in this. Allah sees what you carry. He hears what you whisper. He knows your intentions. And He will meet you in the quiet moments when you finally stop rushing and start trusting. May Allah grant you presence in your recitation, sincerity in your actions, and a life anchored in the truth of the One, the Eternal Refuge, the incomparable Ameen.